The rain had been falling for 3 days, and the small mountain village of Wanhua felt like the last lonely candle in an endless night. They said the warlord's army would arrive by dawn. They said they would burn the fields, take the cattle, and drag away anyone who resisted. The village chief, an old man with eyes clouded like frosted glass, summoned the only person in the valley who might have a chance of stopping them, Jian Xu, the swordsman without a sword. The summons made the farmers whisper in disbelief. A swordsman without a sword is just a man, they said. And yet, Jian Xu came. Chapter 1, The Man Who Put Down His Blade. Jian Xu had once been the most feared duelist in the province. In his youth, his blade was said to move faster than thought itself, severing spears in mid-thrust, slicing arrows from the air. But after the Battle of Lianxi Bridge, he buried his sword deep in the earth and swore never to draw steel again. They say it was because of the boy. During that battle, a young conscript, barely 13, charged him in a panic. Jian Xu struck reflexively. The boy's eyes, wide with terror, haunted him every night since. From then on, he carried only a bamboo walking stick. When Jian Xu stepped into the chief's hut, his presence seemed to bend the air. His hair was tied carelessly, his robes worn, but his gaze was steady, clear, like the surface of a still lake. "They say you can save us," the chief said. "But the enemy are many. Swords, spears, arrows, and you bring only that stick." Jian Xu tapped the floor lightly with the bamboo. "A sword kills without thought. A stick, only with intent." "You will fight without a sword?" the chief asked. Jian Xu smiled faintly. "No sword. No problem." Chapter 2, The Shadow of War. By sunset, the villagers had gathered in the square, eyes filled with fear and hope. Jian Xu spoke briefly. "Do not meet force with fear. Fear sharpens the enemy's blade more than iron." He taught them to use farming tools, flails, rakes, scythes, not as weapons of death, but as extensions of movement. He drilled them on the importance of timing, of striking not to kill, but to break momentum. "You think you need swords to win?" Jian Xu told them. "The sword is only a tool. Victory is a state of mind." That night, under lantern light, he worked alone. He studied the muddy streets, the alleys between homes, the slope of the hill leading into the village. He had no sword, but the entire village could become one if used correctly. Chapter 3, The First Clash. At dawn, the warlord's men came like a river of black iron, helmets glinting, boots pounding the wet earth. The villagers formed a ragged line, their hands shaking around their makeshift weapons. Jian Xu stood at the center, bamboo stick in hand, as though waiting for an old friend. The first rider charged, spear leveled. Jian Xu stepped forward, twisted, and crack, the bamboo struck the spear just below the head, snapping it in two. A flick of his wrist knocked the rider from his saddle without breaking a single bone. Gasps spread through the villagers. The enemy hesitated. Then Jian Xu moved. He flowed like water, weaving through the soldiers. His stick struck wrists, knees, helmets, not to kill, but to disarm, to send men sprawling into mud. Every motion was precise, unhurried. By the time the first wave retreated, not a single villager had fallen. Chapter 4, The Warlord's Game. But the warlord was not a man to be humiliated. That night, he sent a messenger under a flag of truce. "You fight well for a man with no sword," the messenger said. "The warlord wishes to see if you fight as well with one." A challenge was set, single combat, warlord against Jian Xu. If Jian Xu won, the army would leave. If he lost, the village would be razed. The villagers begged him to accept a weapon. "I have no sword to give you," the chief said, "but I will fetch one if it saves us." Jian Xu only shook his head. "The moment I take a sword, I return to the man I was. And that man cannot save you." Chapter 5, Duel at Dawn. The duel took place in the center of the field. The warlord was a giant of a man, armor gilded, sword as long as a man's arm and twice as sharp. Jian Xu bowed politely, bamboo stick in hand. The warlord sneered. I will break you in one strike. He lunged. The sword flashed like lightning. But Jian Xu moved as though he had already seen it. He stepped aside, tapped the flat of the blade with his stick, and redirected it harmlessly into the mud. Strike after strike, Jian Xu turned the warlord's strength against him, each movement flowing into the next like wind through reeds. Finally, as the warlord roared and swung in a great arc, Jian Xu slid inside the reach, tapped the man's wrist, and the sword fell to the ground. In the sudden silence, Jian Xu placed the tip of his bamboo stick against the warlord's throat. You have already lost, he said quietly. Chapter 6, A Different Kind of Victory. The warlord stepped back, breathing hard. You could have killed me, he said. I could, Jian Xu agreed. But I would rather you remember the lesson. The warlord laughed once, a short, grudging sound. Then he turned to his men. Withdraw. The black river of soldiers flowed away, leaving the village untouched. Epilogue, The Bamboo Sword. That night, the villagers celebrated as though the harvest had come early. But Jian Xu sat alone beneath the great pine tree at the edge of the square. The chief approached, bowing low. You saved us without spilling a drop of blood. How did you know it would work? Jian Xu looked at the bamboo stick in his hands. Because a sword wins battles. But restraint wins wars. He rose, nodded once, and walked into the night. Some say he still wanders, turning up wherever danger threatens the helpless. Always with the same weapon. A sword made of bamboo.